Hello everyone! Today I'm doing something a little different on my channel, and I'm hoping that this will be something that sticks. I've been wanting to incorporate this idea on my channel for a while. So I love to read. It's other than scrapbooking, it's my favorite hobby, and I thought it would be interesting to start doing more layouts about the books that I read. And my idea is every month I will review the books that I've read for the month and tell you all a little bit about them and what I rated them. And then I will, after I review the books, I will do a layout process video incorporating pictures and reviews of the books. I want to have a scrapbook dedicated to book reviews. Like I said, I love reading, so this is just another way for me to combine my two passions. So to get started, I'm going to share with you the books that I read in the month of October, and then we're going to jump into creating a layout together. So the first book that I read is called These Witches Don't Burn. This book is about a group of teenage witches and their coven, and dangers that their coven is facing when it comes to witch hunters and blood witches. And it's a very interesting book. I really enjoyed it for the spooky time that was October. There is a sequel, and I will definitely be reading the sequel. I did find it a little bit predictable. I was kind of able to guess halfway through the book who the bad guy was. But ultimately, I did enjoy this book. And like I said, I do want to pick up the sequel to it. It's by Isabel Sterling, if you're interested in reading it. And I'm going to give this book 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, this is not a book that I would usually pick up. It is a historical fiction. I am not usually a fan of historical fiction, but this is actually a book that I read with my daughter. We read a chapter every day, and it's called Out of the Many Waters. And it's a book about the Spanish Inquisition in the eyes of a 12-year-old Jewish girl. So I'm going to kind of read the back just to give you an idea of what it's about. Kidnapped from her parents during the Portuguese Inquisition, 12-year-old Isabel Ben Lazar was sent to work as a slave at a remote Brazilian monastery. In 1654, Isabel escapes and stows away on a ship bound for Amsterdam, searching for her family. But harrowing adventures lead her to the first group of Jews to settle in America. So this book was really good. I really enjoyed reading it with my daughter, and she even loved it, and she's not much of a bookworm. It was as it goes for reading with a younger child. My daughter is 10. I feel like some of it was a little confusing. It touches on a lot of religion, of course, and just parts of that were a little confusing for her. But ultimately, it was just a really good book, really true to history, and it just gives you an idea of what the Jewish people went through during this time. The ending was less than satisfactory. It left a lot of questions. I don't think there is a sequel to this book. I did some research and I couldn't find anything. So it kind of ended open-endedly, so you don't really know what happens at the end, but it was still a good book. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I read was Havenfall. My favorite genre is fantasy. And this book really delivered for me. I loved it. I'm gonna tell you right now, it was 4 out of 5 stars for me. This book is about a inn called Havenfall, and the inn is the center of all these doorways that lead to different fantasy worlds. And all the doorways, all the people that live in these fantasy worlds come to Havenfall once a year, and they just come together in celebration of the peace between all the worlds. The worlds have different magic, they have different types of people that are living in them. They cannot visit each other's worlds or they will be ripped apart. And Havenfall is run in our world, in the normal human world. And the girl that is the protagonist in this book, she loves Havenfall. She goes there every year. It is her safe place because she is dealing with the fact that her mother supposedly killed her brother when they were younger, and her mother is actually in jail now on death row for having killed her younger brother. And everything just kind of comes together, and the story keeps you guessing. It keeps you just wrapped up. It's not exactly, there could have been more action. I definitely think the fact that it was tied down to the inn left there room for more action. There is a sequel, so I think there will be a lot more action in that book, but I really did love this book. Like I said, I thought the inn was a really nice setting. It was a fantasy, but it wasn't so action-packed that it felt heavy. But there were so many mysteries going on and so many questions, and you couldn't guess what was going to happen next. At least I couldn't. I couldn't guess what was going to happen next. I couldn't guess who the good guy was, who the bad guy was. It just kept you questioning all the relationships. I really enjoyed this book. This was probably my favorite read for the month of October. So those are the books that I read in the month of October. And like I said, I give Havenfall 4 out of 5 stars. Out of the Many Waters was 4 out of 5 stars. And then These Witches Don't Burn was 3 out of 5 stars. So I do suggest any of these books, honestly. I really enjoyed reading them. So we'll see what I read for the month of November. But in the meantime, I want to jump into making the layout for this month. And I will be making a layout for These Witches Don't Burn and Out of the Many Waters, because I plan on making layouts for every book that I read each month, even if I don't like it, just because, like I said, I want to have a scrapbook that's dedicated to my book reviews. But for the sake of this video, I will be documenting Havenfall and how I felt about Havenfall. So let's jump into the layout.